All right, let's talk lighting software. Lighting design software. I think most people fall into one of two camps, right? You have your AGI, maybe visual people that design everything. You build all the geometry, you bring in your IES files, you figure out what your design is, then you go back to Revit or CAD or whatever and put that in. That's the camp that I fall into. You've got Loom Tools users now where you can do your calculations within Revit. That's the world that Emlyn lives in. She's really good at that. But those are really two different separate workflows, and there haven't really been a lot of innovations in the technology, probably within the last 20 years. I mean, I remember using AGI back in 2004 when I was first learning how to do lighting design. And the program's added some features, but you know, a lot of it is relatively the same. So today I want to talk to you about LightStanza, and some of you may have heard of them before. They actually do really accurate daylight modeling. And a few years ago, they decided we're going to start doing electric lighting also. And I really like the way that they went about it, because instead of saying, we're going to produce the product that we think the lighting community wants, we're going to go out into the lighting community and see what program they want, what features do they want, what workflows do they have. So they came about it with a good sense of humility, which I really appreciate. So I'm going to show you a few different workflows in the program. The first one is going to be a standalone, right? You've got a 20 by 20 foot room, you've got a couple of different lighting types in it. It's 4 o'clock on a Friday, you just want to get the thing calced and get the heck out of it. So for this workflow, I don't even need LightStanza installed on my computer. I just go to the web, log in. Don't look at these folders because I'm going to explain that later. I'm just going to go up to New Design and pick Canvas. I'm going to go here to my lighting plan view. We talked about a 20 by 20 foot room. I'm going to go here, Simple Room Modeler, pick a box. Draw it anywhere over here, go down to 20 by 20. Hey, probably have to zoom in. Close enough. All right, so you can see the LightStanza already put in my calc grids. I put them in at 30 inches. I can change that at any point, but I don't have any light fixtures in here, right? So I'm gonna open up the little Lighting Families box. I've got a few IES files saved in this folder. Doesn't want to drag, there we go. I'm just going to drag these IES files in. You can see that all these IES files have already come in. I can change the light loss factors on these. I can do a bunch of different editing right here. But for this, I'm just going to start adding them in. I'm just going to assume that everything I picked is what I want. I'm going to add a couple of those. Let's add something that's a little bit different. Okay. Is there anybody here that cares about emergency lighting? Do we have any electrical engineers in here? Awesome, we got a few of you. Okay, so you know how traditionally you would have to create a normal lighting calc, then you would have to take that, create your emergency lighting calc. If one changed to the other, you've got to copy it over to the other one. Well, with LightStanza, you can do both in the same model. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick a couple of these lights, not all of them. Say your emergency, pick you, say your emergency. It's that easy. I'm also going to add a wall in here because, you know, how many rooms are just normal geometry? So I'm going to pick a box, just draw it from here to here, put a wall in like that. Now you might be asking, what does this look like in 3D, right? This whole time we've been in 2D. I can click anywhere in this room, say view location in 3D. Here I am. I can see the entire room. I can move around, turn. I've got all my photometric webs here to make sure that none of my fixtures are oriented the wrong way. And I do have some calc grids here, 30 inches above the floor, but you know what? Maybe I want more calc points than that. So I'm going to go over here, I'm going to hit Add from Surface. That wall gets a calc point. That wall gets a calc point. Everybody gets a calc point, okay? We're just going to pick the end of the wall, something you probably wouldn't even do. So now I'm going to go back to Plan, and I'm going to calculate. So I'm going to go here, I'm going to calculate grid illuminance. I'm going to run my normal. Calculate grid illuminance, emergency only. Let's go into our 3D view here. Let's start running some renderings. Let's do illuminance rendering. And we'll do an illuminance rendering. Now you might notice that I did all of those at once, right? There was no run one, wait, This is not doing anything on my computer right now. All of this is being done on their cloud servers, okay? So I don't have to go take a coffee break. If it's a big calc, I don't have to go home for the night. I don't have to worry that if I send an email in the middle of this, my whole computer is gonna crash and I have to start over, right? So I could be opening another calculation right now and be running something else while I'm waiting for all of this stuff to finish. So it looks like some of the calculations are done. This was my normal lighting calc. I've got it here. I can change any of these parameters just with the slider on what I'm trying to convey. I've got my emergency calculation here. I can do a little report. It pulls up all the calculation points that I have in this model. It gives me all of my values for it. It shows me what they look like. I've got my renderings here with this overlay. Again, this is all adjustable. I can make it look however I want. This guy's gonna be a little tricky. Oh, I double clicked. See, I'm click happy. Okay, so we've got these illuminance bands. We can change all this stuff. We can look for hotspots. We can even do contour lines. So if I want to see where my values are and where they change, I can do this in 3D now. And I can adjust what I want them to look like and what I want to show. So this is one workflow, right? And another workflow you might have would be, maybe you just want to bring in a PDF, right? You don't have drawings, you don't have a CAD background, whatever. You can just bring a PDF in, click measure and scale this thing, measure a door. It'll say, I think that's 1.5 feet, it's actually 3 feet, boom, this is scaled. Now I can go over, create my rooms, do a polygon. I'm not gonna draw all this for you, this is a complicated space, but hopefully by now you get the idea, right? So that's one kind of workflow, that's that standalone workflow, but there's another workflow. Here I've got a Revit model. Got some light fixtures in it already. Maybe I could bring this in as a blank Revit model, but I'm gonna show you this with the lights. I'm gonna go up here to my LightStanza tab, and I'm gonna say export to LightStanza. I can do it by space, by floor, I can pick any of this stuff, expand it. I could do individual rooms if I want, just based on how they're organized within the Revit model. For this, I'm going to bring in the whole model. And we can also choose categories to import. Do you want to see the cable tray? Do you want to see the HVAC? Sometimes you might. Other times, you might just say, hey, give me the minimal. I just want the building geometry and my light fixtures, and let's call it good. It will establish your work plane height. You can tell it what you want your work plane to be. It's going to put it in on all your floors for you automatically. If you wanted calc grids on your walls and your ceilings, you check this box, it's going to put all those in for you too. And then there's this enabled track changes thing here, which I'm not going to get into now. It's pretty cool. I'll cover it here in a second. But I'm going to go ahead and hit export. Right now, LightStanza is doing handshake with Revit. They're talking to each other and saying, oh, okay, you got this thing. I'm going to start importing it. And while that's going on, I'm going to talk a little bit about collaboration. So let's say that I'm working in this model, and I want Emlyn to take a look at this rendering. I hit comment on this activity. I say, at Emlyn Altman, hey, take a look at this rendering. If I hit save, Emlyn's going to get an email with a link. If she clicks it, it's going to bring her right here, and she can take a look at what I'm working on. If I'm having an issue with something, I just type plus support at LightStanza, type, hey, this doesn't look right. Their support team gets back to us within an hour or 2 hours tops, and they will say, hey, we looked into this, this is what we think it is, this is what you need to do. So you have this amazing ability to collaborate on your work. Now let's say I leave here today and I get hit by a bus, and granted this is New York, so there's a pretty high probability of that. If somebody needs to come in and see what Travis Taullie was working on, all of our employees' work is organized here in this folder, and you can reorganize it however you want. We've got different folders for different cities. You can come in here and say, oh, Travis, here's Travis. Open this up. Oh, these are the projects that he's working on. And I can click on any of these, go right into it, and LightStanza, as you're calculating things, it creates this history for you on the right. So I can scroll all the way to the bottom and see my first calculation, and say, oh, okay, he laid some fixtures out, right? Go up through here. Oh, looks like these are a little bit lower. He probably tried some different outputs. Here's some renderings that he ran. Okay, he was looking at this wall. Maybe this wall is important, right? Anyone has access to that and can collaborate and see each other's work that way also. If I check my email, oh, I've got to search for open space. Emlyn Altman mentioned me in a comment. I click here, opens it up, takes me right to what she was working on. I added lights at the pipe along the side aisle. Check out the lighting calc rendering. Boom, pulls it up. I can see exactly what she's looking at. So hopefully you can see how many different workflows there are. And even if you have people that have different workflows, those are covered. You can still do it your own way and communicate with each other and see the same thing. Did I close that calc? Please tell me I didn't close it. Oh man, I did. Sorry, I'm click happy. I destroyed my handshake.
Destroyed the handshake?
We're gonna have to start this again. I apologize for that.
Travis, technically it may be in your folder, in your export folder.
True. Thank you, sir. You're right.
But this is now going to be the new
I can go back to my folder even though I closed it. And because I ran it, it might still be here. It's probably this, because this is my most recent. So let's take a look. Okay, that was it. Cool, nothing was lost. So if you look at these light fixtures, they've got these red triangles. Those are saying, help me. I don't have an IES file. I came in from Revit, but I don't know who I am. So I can pick one of these light fixtures. It tells me no IES file. I click this here, upload new IES file. I pick one from my folder. Boom.
So I think this is
those fixtures now know who they are. Yeah. And they are assigned. And I can go through and see which fixtures still have that until all of them are assigned.
So I think this is the new upload.
Yeah, this is a new upload, so it'll take a second. Okay, I can do everything that we already talked about previously, but here's where things get really cool. So I've got my Revit model. Well, I did. Hold on a sec.
Actually, Travis, you'll have to do it with a new upload.
So let's say we want to focus in on this pre-K room right here. I've got LightStanza open. I go over to that pre-K room. I'm going to pick this fixture. This must not have had the handshake.
Yeah, it's the new upload has it now, so it's the other model. Sorry.
Thank you, Dan.
I think, yeah. Sorry.
It's probably this one that is still working. It's preparing the view. Come on. All right. Sorry. One more time. Pre-K. Let's go. If I pick this fixture, see how it highlighted in my Revit model? If I take this fixture and I move it, I click this button, say send changes to Revit, and that light now moved in Revit. So there's no more creating a file, standalone, have to go back into Revit, put it into Revit. I can now take my Revit model with a layout, bring it into LightStanza, move everything around, and then say, okay, send this back to Revit, and I'm done. The back and forth does not exist anymore. So we have adopted this tool. It's rolled out to our entire lighting group. We're about to roll this out to our engineering team, which is over 100 electrical engineers. And we're doing that because we're confident that any workflow can work with this, and on the projects we've implemented it on, we've already saved a ton of time, and it's increased our collaboration tenfold. So LightStanza has collaboration, workflow, and user friendliness all wrapped into one.
Absolutely.
So we're a big proponent of them. I think they have a booth here. If you want, you can go check it out.
But I will say, for the work I've been doing, LightStanza has really helped, because one of the things that I've struggled with Revit is that if the model's not perfect, if it's not built well, if the families aren't well. We've had issues where you have a pendant that's one way and the photometrics is perpendicular to it, or it's like 2 foot below. And actually, I can probably show that right now if you don't mind, like a little.
Yeah, we can go to the next question too while you're getting set up.
Oh,
You're ready.
I
Okay,
was all
cool.
ready. So I was all prepared. So for instance, you can see how these photometrics are floating 2 feet, like about like a half a foot below. So you can select, well now if it lets me select it, there we go. So you can see how the geometry's up here, the photometrics down here. That was because that's how the family was in Revit. And I knew it was going to take like hours. I would have to get the BIM team of it, because I will admit, some of the ways that they constructed the families, I wouldn't know how to do it with all the constraints. What I loved about it and what made my life so much easier was that I could select all of those fixtures. So I now, just with a click of the button, I selected all of the H fixtures and opened the IS file. And you can see, okay, it's not only floating below the geometry, it's perpendicular. So with a click of the button, I could change this, and instead of a 90 degree, boom, I made it parallel. And okay, so it's right now too low. I can, and you have to think the right-hand rule. So blue is the z-axis, and I could either drag it up, and so I could rotate this, and I could move it up. And you could also swap out the IS file or light loss factor, but here, in like literally seconds, I now fix the file, I save it, and oops, I did it too high.
Emlyn always used to complain about this with the loom tools, and I had no clue what she was talking about, but I did know how happy she got whenever she figured out how to do this.
Oh, it was great. It was great because I knew that, and this was a model that we were both working on together, and I knew that if I fixed it for my area, it could really mess up his stuff. So, I mean, look how fast I was able to change that.
And you can aim them individually.
And we can aim them individually. So here we have, oh really? Man, it doesn't like me today. Okay, so if I go back to my theater example, and so that, what I just demonstrated was if like all of the fixtures had the wrong position or the wrong orientation, but yeah, most often when you're using the aimable fixtures, you're not going to have everything aimed in the same direction. Whereas like in Revit, the way we have our family set up, you can adjust the tilt angle, but then all of the fixtures, they have the same tilt angle. Well, that doesn't always work like that in like real life. So for instance, here's 2 light fixtures. Okay, so you can see we have little rotation angles. So if I want, I could have this one go to the left and I could have this one go to the right. That's how fast it was. And that was something that if I tried to do something like that in Revit, it would have taken me like a lot longer. So.
Thanks. We still have